Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jason, a zombie collector, I guess, if you want to say. I haven't done one of these in a long time, so I thought I'd go ahead and do one. I'm heading into work this morning here in beautiful north central Indiana. We've had a bit of a warm streak after a couple week or two of being pretty frigid and cold. It's been in the mid to high 70s, which is cool for late November or late no October. So I'll take it. But I actually had a couple people reach out to me recently and say, "Hey, you haven't done one of these videos in a while," and I thought, you know what, you're right. I have not done one of these videos in a long while. So I thought let's change that. Let's change it up a bit. Let's make it happen. And before I hit record, I had a couple thoughts, and so this is gonna just like be as usual, kind of free flowing, no real rhyme or reason. Just kind of chit chat with the listeners, the community, whatever I've built up over the years. Whenever the ones I haven't offended in some way, shape, or form. But that's what I do. That's my superpower. And so yeah, you might want to hang on because it'll probably be the whole time on my whole drive into work because I kind of have lots of different thoughts. So first up, I was thinking, I know some of you all are not fans of wrestling and maybe some of you are, but I wanted to just kind of do an observation. Last week, Sting, the icon, announced his official retirement. Now, if anybody knows anything about wrestling, you never say never. No one ever truly retires and all that. But with Sting, I believe it's true. Anyways, let's not get into it. The short version is that, yeah, I believe this is 100% authentic. Now, is he retiring completely from wrestling? I don't know about that. But as far as in-ring, he is officially retiring as of early next year. AEW Revolution, I believe, is his last pay-per-view / match. The thing that kind of bothered me was that he does his like farewell speech, and the culture we live in is so just filled with crybabies and triggered just man children, and it's people just follow the crowd. People don't even think for themselves anymore, and it's so apparent and so just painfully obvious. So Sting is going through a list of people that, for him personally, have meant something to him in his career. Now, this is Sting. Steve, his real name is Steve Borton, talking about, who the individual wrestlers were who meant something to him. And he ends up mentioning Hulk Hogan. And the crowd, you could tell it was like a mixture. Before he mentions everybody else. He mentions the Steiners. He mentions, he mentions quite a few people before he mentions Hogan. I can't remember. But anyways, and Hulk Hogan gets pretty loudly booed, which he has been for the last decade. Now, I'm not getting into a whole thing with Hogan because that's a whole separate thing. But the short of the matter is, this is the Sting's experience. This is Sting's farewell speech. But, fans and just, basically little bitches are just crying because he mentions Hulk Hogan's name. He's not, it's mind-boggling that you still have these just toxic fans who just jump on the bandwagon to hate Hogan. I would say most of them don't even know why they boo Hogan. A lot of them weren't even around during Hogan's heyday. They're just following the lead of all these, toxic fans. It's just so pathetic. The reason why it irked me was because right after he mentions that, he mentions Ric Flair. Now, Ric Flair has a long history that he himself and many of his cohorts have talked about being a drug addict, alcoholic, womanizer, sexual abuser. And he himself had to essentially disappear after last year's dark side of the ring because of the stuff that he supposedly had done, and he did everything got quieted down, and he just kind of disappeared and went off into the sunset, so to speak, a bit. And don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with any of this stuff because, again, it doesn't have nothing to do with me, and two, quite frankly, I'm not a part of this cancel culture stuff. If I don't like a guy, if I don't like a girl, I just don't like them. I don't go around just like shitting all over them. And I definitely don't do it when somebody's just like talking about what those people did for them and their careers. But everybody was wooing and hooting and hollering about the Nature Boy, which I find it interesting that Hogan, who said, completely inappropriate things, which he has apologized for. And also, if anybody who supposedly truly knew Hogan, his contemporaries, not yet modern day wrestling fans and or wrestlers, said that's not, he's not some kind of racist, hate mongering person. No one could forgive him. He's unforgivable in some people's eyes. But when Nature Boy, who is also a known liar, like Hogan's a known liar, just lies their own lies, they just lie because they think, no one's going to fact check them because that's their career, that's their gimmick. They can make up these crazy stories, and then that's the way it always has been. They still live in like it's 1985, and they can just do this stuff. But when you have somebody who like Flair, who has all these allegations against him, as this womanizing guy going around, and if you know the dark side of the ring, you know what I'm talking about, and all this other stuff, and everybody corroborates the story. And he gets like this pass, and it's just I don't get this world we live in where there's certain sins that are worse than others, which it just cracks me up because it just shows you the complete lopsided, skewed perspective. So it's where people get passes and where people don't. And I wasn't even going to talk about this, but then last night, much to my shock, because Tony Khan has said that like Hogan will never be allowed or invited to AEW. And there are certain people that he has gotten rid of from AEW who have done sexual harassment or put them in serious jeopardy. Sammy Guevara, for instance, because the stuff he's just said about Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné now. And there was one guy that was from England who had allegations against him, which turned out to apparently not to be true. But he got fired from, during the whole Me Too movement, he got fired from AEW. And then last night, he presented a quote-unquote gift to Sting, and he now has hired Ric Flair to be a part of AEW, and apparently he's going to be around for the next 4 or 5 months or something like that, it sounds like. Now, I don't know if this is like a legit contract, if he's truly a part of AEW, if this is just like a short-term thing, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is the guy had allegations that were, again, not denied, and that he disappeared, and WWE distanced themselves from him, and everybody just was kind of like, yeah, those things happened, and he brings him on as a big deal, a guy who had these allegations against him. So that just makes me wonder, where is the moral compass on these situations? So if you said things in private about, other races in a private conversation, which again, I'm not condoning it, I'm not accepting it, but it was filmed behind his back to extort him out of money and everything else. We're talking about Hogan here. And he apologized, and people who know him and know his character was like, that's not who he is as a person. He was caught in a time when he was going through a lot of stuff. Again, unacceptable. But then you have another guy who, to my knowledge, has never apologized for his behavior. And people literally have said, that's his Nature Boy being the Nature Boy. That's Rick being Rick. No apologies for his behavior, no apologies for his antics, no apologies to the women that he had apparently done things to or inappropriately, did whatever, allegedly. He gets a pass. I don't get it. I mean, I don't know, especially with the world we live in now with the whole post-Me Too movement and the whole thing about women's rights and, toxic masculinity and all this stuff. I just don't get it. Like how, especially wrestling fans who are actually the most toxic fan base I've ever been around or ever have seen. says no to this guy, but yes to this guy. It's never sat well with me, and it still doesn't to this day. I mean, yesterday you had the entire Philadelphia, Pennsylvania fan base wooing and cheering for Ric Flair. And I was just thinking, what about if they brought out Hogan, which I knew it was never going to happen, because Hogan could come out and like flog himself in front of Tony and God and everyone else and profusely apologize, and people still be like, nope, not good enough. And it just is mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling. But Ric Flair can come out there, totally fine, completely accepted, no questions asked. I don't think there's an answer to this question. I'm just posing how warped the world is, and then how ridiculous it is, how you pick and choose the things to be upset by, the things to be triggered by, and the things to have this false shock by. Well, none of these people could care less. They just do it because it's like the cool thing to do. It's the in vogue thing to do, to shit on Hogan and to prop up Flair. Now, this is not me, and I'm a Hulk Hogan fan when I was a kid growing up, but now I can take him or leave him. It's like whatever, but there's no denying Hogan's connection to the wrestling. If Hogan didn't happen, WWF didn't happen. Okay, that's just the facts. And you wouldn't have The Rock, and you wouldn't have The Undertaker, you wouldn't have Stone Cold, you wouldn't have none of these people. It would not be those levels of mega superstars if it was not for Hogan. So I mean, it's mind-boggling. And nowadays, you just they just try to act like he doesn't even exist, which it is what it is. So that's something that just has really got into my craw, if you can say. The other thing is, kind of switching gears, like I said, this is going to be kind of all over the place, is that, have you all noticed since early spring to now, television and movies and Hollywood in general kind of just has come to a complete halt and stopped, and the world is and people just keep themselves entertained, and no one really has cared or missed Hollywood. I find that quite interesting. I actually enjoy it. You have everything come to a complete halt. There's no movies being made, no TV shows being made, nothing's being shot, nothing's happening because of the strike. And I think we're better for it. People are like, you're just noticing a whole lot of what was put in the pipelines or whatever now, because it's the last, few things that were filmed that they already had pre-strike. But there's going to be huge gaps in the next year because nothing's being created, nothing's being made, nothing's being produced, nothing's being directed, and nothing's being shot. It just kind of just come to a halt. And you know what? You don't hear anybody really talking about Hollywood anymore unless you're about the strike. You don't hear anything about movies or TV. And it's shocking, since America is the number one consumer of all things pop culture, I'm sure. And we're the number one exporters of all things pop culture, movies, music, TV, whatever. And you just get to keep on trucking. And it's just I find it amusing. Now, I'm in the physical media world, as most of you all know, and it's been a boom for physical media fans. This has probably been the best year on the books ever since the creation of physical media back in the 70s to now. And people just finally, I think, are just kind of going around and looking through their collections and starting to buy physical media again. About a decade, 15 years ago, buying records became cool again after a 20-year plus hiatus that only very few records were being created, and people were buying used records, but modern day new stuff wasn't. And then now it's showing up in Walmart and whatever else is, and physical media is kind of having that same experience, Blu-rays, 4Ks in there. Even though they're being phased out in some areas, they're picking up in other areas, which is interesting. And people are rediscovering their old favorites. And I just find it very interesting that people have been able just to find ways to keep themselves entertained in spite of Hollywood imploding and crumbling down on top of itself. And I think it's been really great for us movie fans because, quite frankly, the things that are being created in the last 10 years out of Hollywood have been just absolutely stinking piles of shit. Anyways, people now, they set the bar so low. People will say now how certain thing, like a certain movie or TV show, is so good because the bar's been set so low. Even though that same movie or TV show 10, 15 years ago would have been like, nobody would have given it the time of day. So it's very surprising that, how Hollywood hasn't felt, a sense of urgency to get their heads out of their own asses and get back on the, first figure out how to make the fans happy again, and two, get back to work. But for me, they can just continue to just do this until the cows come home. We don't need them. It's been apparently obvious that, late night talk show hosts and movies and TV and all that has come to an end, like we said, and everybody has been fine. No one's missed it. And I'm wondering when it comes back, will the fan base be there? Will the eyes and ears and butts and the seats will be there to watch it? I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out. I'm genuinely interested, and I don't care one way or the other because what's going to happen is what's going to happen. I don't really. I would, to be honest, I would celebrate the demise of Hollywood. I'm not going to lie. I would celebrate that. I would stand on a pile of their ashes and take a piss right on it. But one way or the other, I don't really care in the big scheme of things. But there's a part of me who would just like to see them, like I said, eat themselves into oblivion. But I am interested to see what will happen with all that once it's all said and done. I honestly think that they have done such damage to themselves that there may not be. They're already on the ropes. The whole COVID thing ruined so many movie theater chains, and going out in public to watch film, and streaming has killed the movie business, and people just stopped going. People stopped caring. And then also just the lack of quality content has ruined Hollywood. All it is remakes and reboots and sequels, or then they push their agendas into all that stuff, and they race swap everybody, and everybody has to be, some other entity and all this, and it just people get tired of it. Five people just was like, I'm just not going. Disney's ruined themselves. Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek. Everything, every single drama, it seems like, is on there. You can't be funny anymore at comedies because you're too worried you're going to trigger somebody. People are going to get butthurt. It's crazy. And we do in the community starting to see a little bit of a change, a little bit of a turn and twist, and like maybe moving away from some of this stuff. But unlike other people who like kind of jump up and down, go, oh, here we go, things are going to get better. I feel like we're still way far away from all that. I feel like we're way far away from that being a reality. I think we still have quite a ways to go before we can get back to just making great stories, great content, great movies, and stop worrying about the 1/100th of 1% or whatever of someone saying something, because he's got a bunch of keyboard cowboys and online trolls that throw hissy fits just to bring companies to their knees. And if you don't like the content, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to listen to it. You don't have to view it. You don't have to whatever. It's crazy. Hey, what up, Steve? How you doing, brother? Yo, hello. I know who says that. That's old baseball collector Mike. That's his opening there. But yeah, hey, what's up, bro? Man, you're up early. Aren't you out in the Great Plains of America? It's 6:30 here in Indiana. So is that 5:30, 4:30 where you're at? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I thought you were out like Nebraska, or I think you're in Nebraska, right? But anyways, so those are some of my thoughts with that. Like I said, I'm just trying to kind of hit some of these highlights, bro. Or I should say, let's see. Oh, first shift or 5:30. Yep. Okay. See, I know. I'm aware. I'm down. I'm hip. I thought I was pretty right when it comes to those things. But good one, man. I appreciate you hopping on here. Um. So anyway, so yeah, that stuff about Hollywood, it is what it is. Well, time will tell. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But honestly, being a physical media fan and loving things from the basically the 70s through the 90s, Hollywood could disappear tomorrow, and I would 100% not even notice. So we'll see how it all shakes out at the end of the day, but it'll be definitely interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it, I guess. I don't want to spend too much time. I mean, it is what it is. I just kind of had some thoughts about everything. Nothing overtly, I'm sure, earth shattering. I am going to be doing a couple videos talking about a big music festival I went to last weekend, which I'm super pumped about. Talking about that experience. I hadn't been to a big music festival in, I don't know, 20 plus years. And, hey, man, you're driving and listening. I'm driving and talking. So there you go, brother. But I haven't been to a big music festival in like 25 something years, I think. So I look forward to going to this, and I have some stories and thoughts about that. I didn't want to share. Maybe I might do that video today. It won't be a live stream. It'll be one to sit in front of the camera and just chat a bit. But I'm looking forward to talking about that. I got some more wrestling cards I'm going to show off. Got some more physical media I'm going to be doing. And so that's it, guys. Well, Steve, I will let you go. Let you get ready to go to work. I myself am getting ready to get into work here shortly. So I appreciate the ones who will listen to this down the road. Thank you all. Definitely at the bottom, comment. This is not a video that you need to do anything except comment. If you like the video, that would be great. If you want to like the video, but definitely comment what your thoughts are. Am I completely off base? Am I an old man screaming into the clouds? Am I just a jaded, bitter wrestling fan and film fan, and just even though I'm a Gen Xer, people are gonna be like, you're just some old boomer. leave me all those comments below. Am I off base? I'm generally interested in hearing what their thoughts are on these topics, because I just like to know, like, if people feel the same, or people like, whoa, I don't know where you're going with that. So I would definitely interested to hear that. So guys, thank you for your time. Thank you for your friendship and your support, and we will do this again soon. Until then, peace.